Welcome to the Trojan Insider postgame show. My name is Peter Gearson, joined here by head analyst and publisher Scott Schrader. As we are here in Austin, Texas, USC has just lost their second game of the year as they fall to the Texas Longhorns here tonight. Scott, not a great showing by either area of the game. The defense, the offense, the special teams all struggled. It wasn't a pretty night. They started off so strong though.
Yeah.
You really talked about that. Talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I won't talk more about it yet, but this game reminded me of John McKay after a game one year when he was coaching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. John McKay was a coach here in the 60s and 70s. And he said, you know, we didn't block very well, and then we followed that up by not tackling. So this was a game where USC was poor in all facets of the game. You know, the special teams, the punting, I'm not sure what the issue is with USC and not punting the ball more than 30 yards. What were they averaging? 1.2 yards per carry with the running game?
They were, and then they went down to negative because they ended the night with -5 yards on the ground.
All right.
A few of those were from JT Daniels taking big losses on quote-unquote runs, but it was evident that the running game never even got close to going. Stephen Carr had a run right where we're standing, right up the gut in the first quarter. It looked like this team had flipped the page from Stanford last week, but they never got the run game going. I don't think the offensive line looks strong at all, and it may even get weaker now as Andrew Voorhees looks like he went down with that MCL injury. We'll get into more injuries in a little bit, but the offensive line is not giving JT time. They're not opening any holes for the running backs.
That's a bigger issue than the pass blocking today. The run game, just not having anything going there. But what was surprising and kind of shocking is the way they started off so well. I mean, they really were. The offense was clicking, and JT was throwing the ball really well, and they were making the catches. And I just think, you know, the momentum from that not called safety. It was clearly a safety.
It was definitely a safety.
And then Talanoa Hufanga, you know, just barely missing a punt block and getting called for roughing the kicker. First down, and you know those momentum changes are huge because USC gets the ball back, you know, probably inside the 50, maybe 40-yard line with Texas punting it from the end zone. And you just don't. Momentum is a big thing. I talked to the players about the momentum, and you know these guys have played football for a lot of years. They've been on both ends of the momentum spectrum, and they just said it really is. It's huge, and that was not the only momentum killer. You know, there were other stuff going on, but you know, what was your take on the offense? What was the biggest issue? The run game, was it really the blocking? Just guys aren't.
I don't think the USC is doing a great job blocking. Their tight ends aren't blocking. Josh Follow came back, and we were hoping he was going to make more of an impact. He had 2 catches for 8 yards. Petit had 2 catches.
Yeah. Amon-Ra
St. Brown finally got integrated in the offense this week after the Ocho package last week meant 0 targets in the first half. This week, hit 160 yards in the ball game, and a couple great plays, a couple deep balls that JT lofted up there, maybe a little bit too long, but one of them, Amon-Ra completely beat the whole defense, and if he had stayed on his feet, he would have gone for a touchdown.
Yeah.
But momentum, as you said, was huge. The special teams did not come through. If Talanoa blocks that punt, it's a safety,
and they get the
ball back. If the referees call Sam Ellinger for the safety, which he clearly was, you have to get out of the end zone. Just like the ball has to break the plane of the end zone to be a touchdown, you have to get out of the end zone completely at the goal line. And the replay was clear as day, showing that the ball was still on the white line, let alone his knee could have been down before it even left the end zone and got to that white line.
Yeah, the weakest performance in that first half was clearly the referees, but you know, I think that's why Texas was ahead at halftime. But then USC came out in the second half, and the defensive scheme looked differently. They weren't putting any pressure on the quarterback. They had a lot of guys drop back. Guys weren't lining up on offense properly. It took them a long time. The clock was running down.
There was one play where they came out after getting that fumble right here on like the 20-ish yard line, and USC had plenty of time to call their plays, get settled. They came onto the line of scrimmage, and the play clock ran out, and they had to call a timeout. So there has to be a communication problem right there between the coaches and the players, because if you don't know the play when you're coming out from a timeout, you have to call a timeout, then that's obviously an issue.
And we won't name names. You know, these players aren't going to blame anybody, and nobody did blame anybody. But you know, we were told by a few guys that players just didn't know where to line up on offense, and the proper personnel wasn't in the game at times. So, you know, that's kind of shocking here, week 3, because I posted on Twitter that to me it seemed like it was fall camp day 1 in the second half, and I think everybody felt that way.
Yeah, so the referees didn't help in the first half. The team didn't do anything else in the second half. Another big injury, Chase McGrath Clay Helton said after the game he fears he has a torn ACL.
Yeah.
Came on that blocked kick, which is a double dagger now because he was running back to try to tackle the guy who recovered the fumble and ran in for a touchdown, and you could see he was limping off the field. He went off on his own weight, but he doesn't look good. As I mentioned, Andrew Voorhees also has an MCL, so hopefully that's on a tear. Nothing was told. But I think we got to kind of talk about looking ahead now, because there wasn't a lot of pretty stuff about this game. T. Martin, I'll say one more thing. T. Martin did say that he felt like this team progressed from last week, which, of course, they got in the end zone this week.
Twice.
But I think in that second half, they almost degressed because nothing was clicking. JT looked flustered. JT threw for over 300 yards for the first time in his college career. But USC was never really in it in the fourth quarter.
So USC goes to Stanford last week. They don't score a touchdown. They score 2 touchdowns in the first quarter against Texas. So that's a lot of quarters of not scoring any touchdowns. So if you look at that, there's got to be something going on other than the players not executing. I just don't believe that the players are just not executing. I believe there's more than just momentum. That's a big part. This is a closer game, but this football team today, at least for me, in the second half, didn't look prepared.
Exactly right. There was 102,000 people here tonight, a record crowd at the stadium, and what an atmosphere it was.
It's awesome.
It's a great place to go watch a college football game if you guys are ever around. It's very humid though. It's supposedly in the 70s right now, but it feels much warmer with the humidity. It's Tom Herman's first win against a ranked opponent. And speaking of rankings, USC is going to fall out of the top 25 for the first time since they started that season in 2016, 1-3, when Sam Darnold came off the bench, replaced Max Brown, and the rest was history. USC went on to win 9 straight games and 4 more straight to open the season last year.
So we will also add, so we don't have to be completely negative, the USC can still win. They still control their own destiny on winning the Pac-12 South. I know none of you are going to be smiling at us saying that, but that is a reality. So, they just have to go. It's got to be one game at a time, and they need to go on this Friday. They need to take care of Washington State, and then go on from there. Take care of, Arizona after that?
In Arizona, and that's not going to be an easy game, and USC has not looked good on the road.
Doesn't appear any of them are going to be easy right now. UNLV wasn't easy for a stretch.
Maybe UCLA, maybe Washington State, but
okay.
But we hope that.
Yeah.
Exactly. UNLV wasn't even easy.
Anyway, these guys, we don't want to sit here and be negative and too negative, because these players are working their asses off,
and they're young.
They're young.
It's a young team who's still learning. But T. Martin said that they're still learning and still trying to piece together things, and that's when you have to ask the question, well, didn't you have fall camp for that? Why is this acting like fall camp and acting like getting your feet wet when these guys have all been studying and looking at film?
When do you stop saying this team is young and stop? At some point, there's going to have to be dramatic changes in this football team, or they're going to, we're looking down the road. If USC loses 2-3 more games, there's going to be guys that are going to be looking for jobs. And so this has to get turned around, because I can guarantee you that USC losing 4 or 5 football games this season is not going to go over well with Lynn Swann.
Nope. And next week's going to be tough because Porter Gustin won't be there for the first half after getting ejected this week with a targeting penalty. So it's not going to get any easier. It's a short week. They'll be back out of practice on Monday. We'll be at practice on Monday.
They actually practice tomorrow.
Yeah,
believe it or not.
They're flying back tonight. It's almost midnight here in Texas, so they'll get back late this morning.
So anyway, the guys are working their butts off, and hopefully the next game they look like they're prepared and they play like it for 4 quarters. That's all USC fans can hope for at this point.
Well, tune in to our site, trojaninsider.com, for more analysis. We got the game story up, more player interviews. It was a little loud in the player interview tunnel, so bear with us on those interviews. If you can't hear, it's not the greatest sound quality, but players and coaches usually don't like to elaborate and talk a ton when they lose. They obviously have more to say when they win. We still got some good information. Scott talked to Tyler and Amon-Ra St. Brown personally to kind of learn what they were feeling, which, they had great games. The offense, the passing game looked okay, but a lot of other stuff to work on. Anything else you'd like to add?
Next week, Friday, it's really this week already here in Texas. Washington State's going to be a tough team. Mike Leach he's a good coach. I won't be at the Washington State game. I will be at Modern Day IMG.
I'll be there. I'll be calling the game on student radio, kxsc.org, and then we'll get some.
We'll have Aiden Berg, we'll have Josh Ann, and we'll have a crew there.
We'll have the Youngbloods do a little post-game show like this,
carrying the coverage
after the game.
You'll all be blessed by that to get rid of me for a week.
Alrighty, guys.
Anyway,
thanks for tuning in. For Peter Gearson, Scott Schrader, say fight on.
Fight on.
And see you next week.
Good night.